Okay, imagine this. Last year in March, I did the same video, top 10 most tunable JDM cars. And in 10th place came the ZR380 with 75 mods. But this time round, in 10th place has 207 mods. That's how far we've came in a year and a half. And with 207 modifications, the Futo GTX is at the start of this list in 10th place. The Futo GTX is a car that you can make a Bosazuka car, you can make a time attack car, you can make a stance car, you can make nearly every build alternative. Like many cars on this list, you can also change the engine block, its strut brace, air filters. It's not only what you can see on the outside. The car does come in at 1.59 million, 1.2 million at trade price, which is quite expensive. If we don't counter in the modifications, if we just have a look at the car, it looks very similar to the Futo. It's got the back of the Futo. We know this car is based on the 86, but it's a better alternative to the Futo. It's almost like a Benny's conversion, and it definitely has enough mods to justify it being a Benny's car. Now, mentioning Benny's cars, in 9th place we have the LG Retro Custom. Now, probably the most popular car on this list. It's an upgrade that costs 904,000. The LG Retro, most people have owned. I think in the GTA community, over half the people in GTA history must have owned this vehicle. The LG Retro alongside the Sultan RS did actually set a benchmark in how far GTA could go with tunable vehicles, but it has been a benchmark that was surpassed. This was actually #1 in the last video. So the video I made last year in March, the LG Retro was actually in 1st place. So imagine that, it was in 1st place in that last video 1.5 years ago, and now it's in 9th place. LG Retro, probably one of the most recommended cars, and it looks like it's one of the cars that have the best value for money as well. Now the Previon. The Previon's a car that is so underused that people forget how many modifications this car actually has. I mean, it did come out in an era in the Tuners DLC where there was so many other great vehicles, so some do get ignored, unfortunately. Now, I'm not going to point out every single kind of modification here, because all the cars on this list, they all have nearly every single modification, but I will point out what is unique. You have a lot of headlight colors. There's a few cars on this list that do have headlight colors, but I'm trying to pick out the most unique features. The Futo GTX and a few other cars like the Remus also have Bosazuku kind of exhaust. The Previon does have a few exhaust options, but does not have anything very out there. The Previon's one of those cars, in my opinion, which I think looks better, more subtle than with crazy modifications. We know this is based on the Prelude, and yeah, it's not as popular as other JDM cars in real life. Now in 7th place, the Remus, coming in 239 modifications, actually 10 more modifications than the Previon. In my opinion, my favorite car from the Tuners DLC, and very close to one of my favorite cars in the game. The car coming in at a reasonable 1.37 million, and then with a trade price of 1 million. I think it's quite reasonable, and the fact that you can put some crazy modifications on there, you can delete the bumper, you know, you can change your radiator options. You know, the S13 is like a lot of people's favorite cars anyway, and you can change the design of the intercooler. You can also make this a race car. A lot of Bosazuku's type exhausts on there. You can put sticker bomb fenders. The list just goes on with this car. You can change the headlight. I love having yellow headlights on this car. I don't know why. Maybe it's just shape or something. But yeah, when it comes to interior modifications, I feel like I think most of the cars on this list do come with a similar interior modifications. That's where it gets a bit boring, so I don't speak much about them. In 6th place, the Kanjo SJ. This is a surprising one, coming in at 240 modifications. This car is such a fun car to build. There's many different builds you can do, and you can do little wrap builds, you can do racing builds, clean builds. You can do so many builds with this car, and you know, you can make it look like the Too Fast Too Furious car, which a lot of people love to do, and I've seen a lot of builds actually like that. And with the front bumper options, you can make this car look like a Corolla from the front, which is pretty cool. Such a lovely, unique car, coming in at 1.37 million, and then 1 million trade price as well. I mean, EG Coupe, who doesn't love them? They're Civics, they serve a purpose in the car community, and this one looks super realistic. Now, dropping into the top 5, we have starting off with the ZR350. Probably one of the most requested cars in the game. A lot of people wanted this before the Tuners DLC came out, and we all got it. And the amount of modifications that this car offers, and still offers actually aftermarket equivalent amount of builds you can do with still making this look relatively clean. Rockstar really did a good job with this. But I mean, it is highly requested, so it does cost 1.6 million with a trade price of 1.2 million. million. Yeah, it is one of the more expensive cars on this list, but it does come with 241 modification, making it 5th. And yeah, it's great that Rockstar actually put this many modifications in. So when this car does come out, not underwhelming to anybody. And in 4th place, the Euros. And I'm not going to shy away in saying that this is not my favorite car on the list. I really don't like the back proportions of this, but the modifications do make up for it. There are 242 modifications, and you can definitely make this car look better than it comes stock. I actually don't own this car, so I had to get in a friend's car to record it being modified. I do think Rockstar could have went slightly better with the liveries on this car. It comes up with a few good spoiler options as well. This car does get very low, and yeah, you can make a great Nismo build with this car. The car is very expensive though, 1.8 million, and then we've got a 1.35 million trade price. So yeah, it's not on the top of my list, but it does come in number 4 in the most modifiable JDM cars. Now the Jester RR coming in 3rd place. This has a lot of modifications, which I was not expecting when this car actually came out, because it's a relatively new car, controversial car, and there weren't many modifications in real life to base GTA's modifications off. But either way, they did not shy away from going with a lot of aggressive modifications on this car. I was excited to see the looks of this car when it came out, and it does look quite good. There's a few nice liveries on this car. There's other liveries like camo liveries, which I'm not quite fond of, but I know a lot of people are, so there is a great mixture of modifications for this car. And it seems cars are getting more and more expensive the more modifications it has. The Jester R actually has 244 modifications, but it comes in at 1.97 million, so 30k off 2 million at 1.477 million for trade price. So yeah, it's definitely worth working for the trade price. Okay, it's getting pretty serious now. In 2nd place, we have the Vector coming in with 252 modifications. This car is just crazy. The amount of change you can add to this car, you can make this car look completely different with the different grille options at the front, making it no longer look like a Lexus. I mean, it's crazy that it has an LS motor in there. That's already something out there. The fact that you can get this car super slammed. I mean, if you were to look at these cars before they were released, you wouldn't expect that this car can go the lowest. It competes with the Kanjo SJ, which you expect to be slammed to the ground with a lot of camber, but this car, you have to stop and think, like, what were the people at Rockstar thinking? It is definitely a very unique car. It is very different to have this modern day car with these types of modifications. The fact that you can change the headlight covers and put like headlight caps on there as well. Definitely one of the most unique cars on this list, and I think the car that surprises you the most in GTA. So if you're looking for something unique, 1.785 million with a trade price of 1.338 million, there you go. Number 2. Now the Calico. I think this is one of the cars on this list that is very hard to ruin. Like, you have to be doing something really wrong to ruin this car. Nearly every single modification looks great. Every modification suits the era and the genre of this car. It's the 1st place car, and by far coming in with 269 modifications. It's hard not to like this car. And it is the most expensive car on this list as well. Only 5k off 2 million. It's the most expensive, but you know, it was one of the most fastest before all the HSW came out. I don't see it as much at car meets as I thought I would. You know, I think the Celica, or as in the UK we like to say, the Celica, is going to go down as a legend. And yeah, it's nice to have one in your garage, even though it does cost 2 million. Yeah, it's a great car to own. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy that video. I do have another video in mind. Let me know what you think, if I should do it or not. And it's getting vehicles. I'm putting into equation the top speed, how many modifications, maybe some other attributes like handling, and then the price, and then giving it a rank depending on if it's worth it or not. It's a video I have in mind, and yeah, let me know. I don't know how well it will do, if anyone will enjoy watching that. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy, and see you guys in the next one.